WSAZ Mortgage Minutes with Stockton Mortgage.
Well, before you apply for a loan, you have to get pre-approved. Ryan Ramsey, loan expert with Stockton Mortgage, is here to tell us all about the pre-approval process. So Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so when someone is applying for that mortgage pre-approval, what are the key steps in that process?
Well, the first step is to find a good local lender to work with, like Stockton Mortgage. Working with somebody local is always proven to make this process much smoother than working with somebody that you find on the internet. And then once you've found that local lender, your next step is to put in a mortgage application. Information that you're going to need for a mortgage application, I mean, it's pretty basic information that most people just know right offhand. You're going to want to start with your full name, social security number, date of birth, your phone numbers, number of dependents you have, and their ages. That's important to have. We're also going to need an email address for you, where you've physically lived the last couple years, whether you rent, owned, where you've worked the last couple years, and all their contact information. We're going to also want to get your banking information. Who do you bank with? What kind of accounts you have, and any other assets you have. And then there'll be some other questions that'll be part of the application process, but your mortgage loan officer should be able to walk you through those and get those questions answered pretty easily to complete the application.
Okay, so what other documents would you need to go along with all of that?
All right, so once you've provided the information for the application, then you've got to provide the supporting documentation to verify all that information. So what you're going to want to pull together and what you're going to want to have on hand for them is going to be like your most recent pay stubs, your tax returns and W-2s for the last couple years, or if you're self-employed, your tax returns for you and your company if you have a separate tax return for your business. We'll need your last couple months' bank statements, photo ID, and then from there, if there's any additional documentation that we'll need up front to be able to complete the pre-approval, your mortgage loan officer will let you know, and then all you've got to do is provide that to them as quickly as you can.
Okay, so Ryan, if you go through this process, how long does it typically take, and then how long does that pre-approval letter, once you're pre-approved, actually stay in effect?
Okay. Well, once you've provided that information, in most cases it takes about 24 to 48 hours to complete the pre-approval, but sometimes there is a little additional due diligence that needs to be completed on that, so it might take a little longer. It just depends upon the circumstances from the application. But once that application is completed and the pre-approval letter has been issued, it's typically good for about 30 days. Mm-hmm. After that, my recommendation is just to reach back out to your mortgage loan officer, check on the status of your pre-approval, see if there's any updated information or documentation they may need to keep that pre-approval in place for you.
Okay, so if you are in that pre-approval process, what else can you expect?
All right, so if you're in that pre-approval process, you're going to provide all this information. If the mortgage loan officer or the lender that you're working with isn't asking for a lot of this documentation and they're not reviewing it, I would be a little worried about my pre-approval. You may want to call, ask questions about, okay, is everything okay? Do you need to see any additional information? Just because the pre-approval process, if done right, and if a lot of information is looked at up front, helps the process run a lot smoother. They should be able to go in and see if there's going to be anything that needs to be done to where you can get that done up front. And then so when it goes once you've put a contract in a home and it goes into the underwriting process, that a lot of those questions have already been answered and you shouldn't have any problems.
I know that it seems a lot of information out there for pre-approval process, but I just went through the home buying process recently by myself, and it was very seamless once you have all that information there. It seems like a lot, but then it ends up being okay.
It is, and I'll be the first one to say there's times where it's going to seem like, oh my gosh, what else do they want?
Yes.
But there are reasons, and if most people saw what goes on behind the scenes and how much due diligence we do that you never know about, you will be surprised.
Okay.
There's not much we don't find out.
Yeah, they'll find out everything. Well, Ryan Ramsey with Stockton Mortgage, thanks so much for joining us once again.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing you next time.